What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Blade Bias. I set the chaplin world record for the longest chaplin consecutively done without dropping it or changing tricks or anything like that. And I thought that was pretty cool. I just kind of wanted to share about that experience. I'm going to start right off by saying, before everyone messages me, because I've already gotten 1,000 DMs from people on Instagram like, no, this person did this long. It's the longest one that I have been able to find. And no, Big Flips did not go for 2 hours. I don't know why everyone thinks that Big Flips did a chaplain for 2 hours. His video, it says right in the title, he did it for 59 minutes. Balisong Flipping did an hour and 4 minutes. The longest one I was able to find was an hour 16 minutes, and I went for an hour 23 minutes. And I don't know, I just kind of wanted to talk about that because it was a very interesting experience. Now, I was live streaming, which I think is what most people do. If you don't know, I live stream on my main channel pretty often. We talk about Balisongs. But I also decided to try at this world record because I wanted to see what it would be like to chaplain for an hour straight, or maybe even an hour and a half or 2 hours. And let me tell you, it is a interesting process. Not only is it very mentally taxing, because I like to think of myself as someone who can do sort of two things at once. Not at once, but I can focus on two things and do them relatively okay. And because chaplaining is not super in depth or anything, it's not something I have to focus all my attention to, I thought it would be super easy. I'll live stream, I'll read chat, and I'll just chaplain the whole time. But it is so difficult to keep a chaplain going while you're focusing on something else, because you have to dedicate a portion of your mental resources to making sure that the balisong is at the right point on your finger, to making sure that it has the right momentum, it's not going to fall off, it's not going to fly off, and you're not going to hit anything. I lost a run at an hour and 4 minutes because I had wired headphones on, and the balisong caught in the wired headphones and fell. So that was annoying. But it's so much more difficult than you think. You have to dedicate resources. Okay, I'm going to do two tasks at once. I'm going to read, or I have to manage a bunch of different tasks. I have to make sure my stream is going okay. I have to read chat and answer those questions. I have to make sure that the balisong is in a good area. I have to make sure I'm in frame. I have to make sure I'm comfortable enough, because this chair is not. All while trying to maintain a decent chaplain. Which you might think is super easy, but it is so simple to get a question from your chat that makes you think a little too hard, and then you start to do something else. As soon as I tried doing three things at once, the chaplain fell. Chaplain fell at the bottom of my priority list. Boom, it was gone. And it was such an interesting thing to see that manifest in my brain as being like, okay, I have to focus on this thing, and I need to make sure that I'm only ever doing one other thing at a time. So there, if you watch the stream, the VOD is up on my channel if you go into the live stream archives section. But I'm making sure to answer questions very slowly. If I'm adjusting my chair, I'm not answering questions, I'm not reading chat. If I'm looking around or I hear a noise, I'm not answering questions or anything. It's so important to keep that down to two things, because the human brain can't do two things at once. Anyone who says that they're a multitasker, scientifically, just isn't. But since the chaplain is such a mindless thing that you can just do for a long time, it kind of it feels like you're doing two things at once. So you can dedicate your mental resources to doing something else, but you have to split it, I guess, is the main point. The other thing I wasn't expecting is the pain in my hand that eventually crept up on me at the hour 7 minute mark or something like that. As you can expect, your finger is having a lot of friction on it. And that actually wasn't the bad part. I have a pretty good callus built up, and even now, a week after, my finger was never really red. I never really had any blisters from this. It wasn't this crazy taxing thing. But what did hurt was the tendons that control my finger. Because you have this thing going around your finger, and you can see that the finger is moving. Finger moves in a circle from the force of the balisong. And that is going to tax the tendons that control your finger. and you would just randomly get, or I would just get these random sharp pains that made it feel like the tendon that was controlling my finger was just about to snap. And it was a tough thing thinking like, okay, am I going to break something by doing this? Obviously the answer is maybe, but probably not. But that was just something that I was like, wow, that was unexpected. But overall, for me personally, it wasn't as bad as I was expecting, especially while live streaming. When you're live streaming, the time just kind of goes by really fast, and it feels like you blink and you wake up and boom, you're at an hour, 10 minutes. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. There's obviously points where you're like, oh my God, I'm only 30 minutes in. I have to do this 2 more times in order to get the record. And it's like, that is mentally taxing. And it also can get kind of boring. You have to make sure to be focused enough to keep the chaplain going, but also kind of let your mind rest enough so that the hour and whatever minutes doesn't just drag on. But it was a super interesting experience. I think if I allow me to toot my own horn, I kind of kept the chaplain at this momentum most of the time. I think it was like 2 rotations per second. I'm gonna go back through the VOD and like kind of figure out the average rotations that I did. But I was having a lot of fun with it. It was a fun experience, and I thought I would share it with you guys. Anyway, that's about it. I did it on the Kraken trainer, by the way, before everyone asks. That's why I've been flipping the Kraken trainer this whole time. I think it's the best chaplainer in my collection. You have to find a balisong that's not heavy enough, but also comfortable enough on the spine. Like the Arctic is super comfortable to chaplain, but it's also really heavy, so you get fatiguing really quickly. The Prisma is super light, but it has a super like sharp spine that I feel like would draw blood eventually if I chaplained on it too long. So the Kraken trainer was perfect for that. But anyway, just thought I would share that experience. Pretty interesting thing that I did. And I will see you all in the next one. Peace.